I'm MM and I ask a lot of questions.
I'm Pia, and I don't have a filter.
We'll be asking questions you dare not ask.
And giving answers that might be a little too honest.
So listen up, come and eavesdrop.
This is
The
the
Chismis
Chismis Table.
Table.
Before we begin, I just want to address the biggest personal disaster of my life during this pandemic, which is my hair. This was not intentional. Never tell your stylist that you're experimenting because it will end up like this. And I also discovered that the more dramatic my face is, the less it looks like a mistake. So I will have this face until my hair goes back to normal. We are 7 months in and counting, and there's no end in sight. And ever since the pandemic happened, a lot of people I know have been complaining about LDR, long distance relationship. That is because they are suddenly stuck at their houses. They cannot see their boyfriends and girlfriends if they're not living in. So it is a hot topic, but I don't think you can call it LDR if you are in the same country, because people who are in real LDRs have exponential challenges because of the stupid pandemic that we don't know how to deal with. I never thought that I myself will be in an LDR or in a relationship to begin with, but it's actually more common than you think. So, how many people do you know are in a long distance relationship right now, aside from
A
me?
lot, a lot. I think there are like more than 10.
More than 10.
friends. Yeah, who are well, if you count the domestic LDR, I think that's also an LDR. Not just the legit type of LDR, but I could consider them LDR too, given this pandemic. They haven't seen each other for like what, 6 months already?
They can now because it's GCQ. So
Yes.
I don't
Yeah,
think
that's
that's
true.
real LDR.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine. But I think that's still LDR. I think they
Yeah.
face the same challenges that you guys are facing also.
Fine, maybe I'm just really bitter.
Because
at
you can't leave.
Yeah, and at least now
Yeah.
they can see each other. And that was a very, very short amount of time that they had to endure the distance, right? And it's not just the couple. I mean, a lot of people weren't able to see their families and whatever. So I don't think it's
Yes.
LDR. But I think the common misconception is LDRs are usually between a Filipino and a foreigner, but that's not always
Not
true
always the
either.
case. Yeah.
I know some friends um, who are both Filipino, but one moved to another country because of the job, and the other person couldn't travel and whatever.
Yep.
But if in the strictest sense, long distance relationship means you're not living in the same place,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a very, very different experience if the other person is living in a different country with or without the pandemic.
Okay.
I'm saying this because I'm very bitter about
Okay, so
all.
we're going to qualify this discussion as LDR that are different countries.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Because the challenges are
fine.
very, very different. I mean,
Okay, sure.
again, you've never been in a long distance relationship, I don't think, right?
I haven't been, unless you count North and South
No,
as a long distance
no,
relationship.
that is not
I
counted.
never
Anyway,
been.
and
I've
then
never been in a. Mm,
now you're currently living with your boyfriend,
yes.
and you're not married.
Nope.
But I don't know. Sometimes I think that part of the success of my relationship is we don't see each other every single day.
Really?
And I
Okay.
don't know because, well, I've never been. I've always been used to living by myself,
Mm.
and being alone and doing whatever I want on my own. Living with my family is difficult for me. Staying with them, seeing them every single day is very difficult, and I don't know how it is really to be living with someone 24/7 every single
Mm-hmm.
day. You know,
Yeah.
you don't always like them all the time, I
Yeah, that's
think.
true. That's
So,
true.
how does it feel for you living with Gian all the time?
So it's been what, almost a year now. We started living together when I got pregnant around when I was about 7 or 8 months in
Mm.
the pregnancy already. It was not that difficult for us to live together, to move in. Maybe because we've been together for more than what, 4 years already,
Mm.
and we've seen each other in different situations. We travel a lot, so we travel for like, there are times that I think the longest would be 2 weeks. So I would already know how he is. But of course, there are still things that you would find out when you live with the person, like how messy they are, how they leave the things on the floor, all of those things. But I think in our situation, we had to adapt quickly,
Mm.
and we had to be able to compromise, like on a lot of things, because we have a baby.
Oh, okay.
That's why. So we had to really make it work. We didn't really talk about it. It just happened naturally for us. Like no formal discussion. Oh, you do this, I'll do that. Yeah, it just all flowed naturally. Maybe because of the baby. Yeah.
Okay. But that's not necessarily normal.
Yeah, that's not like how everyone end up living in, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people who live in because of, why do they end up living in? Because of
They just want to live in.
no, they just want to live in. Some of them do it for convenience. Like for example, they both work in the same area. They'd rather live together
Mm.
than like rent different apartments.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's the thing, because again, I've never lived with anyone on a daily
Mm-hmm.
basis. And not that I don't want to live with Tom,
Yeah.
I do, but maybe for someone who's not used to having a relationship, the long distance setup is not as bad, because I know a lot
Mm-hmm,
of
mm-hmm.
people who can't survive long distance relationships either,
Yeah,
because
like me.
like
Yeah, that's true.
because the distance is just too much, and then there are a lot of things that you have to consider with LDR. But for me, I think it's a good um, introduction or
Introduction to what, to
like,
living together.
yeah, it's like a warm up
Ah,
to
okay.
eventually, spending every moment of your life with your partner,
Mm-hmm.
because we talk a lot. I think that because we are in a long distance relationship, we end up talking a lot more than
Mm-hmm.
couples who are
Yeah,
not in a long distance relationship. Like,
that's
I
true.
would tell people that Tom and I talk every single day, and this is not even an exaggeration, it's every single day. On a weekday, it's three times a
Mm-hmm.
day,
Mm-hmm.
and on the weekends, it's the moment he wakes up until I sleep, because we're 12 hours apart. So that also
Yeah.
takes like hours.
Yeah.
And people get very surprised, unless they live in, but people or couples who don't live in, who are not
Mm-hmm.
in a long distance relationship, are very surprised at how often I interact with Tom,
Mm-hmm.
which is again a lot more often than I guess we would,
Yeah.
because some of my friends would see their boyfriends once a week, maybe, and
Yep.
then they text and all
Mm-hmm.
that. Yeah. So, and it's not like we have a lot to talk about all the
Mm-hmm.
time. Sometimes sometimes we just watch TV together,
Yeah.
or I scroll Facebook and I send him link, and then he will read it. It's not always deep and,
Mm-hmm.
um, but it's just I guess it's also because of the pandemic that things are a little bit
Mm-hmm.
complicated, especially,
Mm-hmm.
we don't want to be in a long distance relationship forever.
Yes.
Um, so before the pandemic, we were starting to talk about how to finally be together in one place.
Mm.
But because of coronavirus, it's just, there are still ways, but there are a lot of steps, at least for me, in between,
Yeah.
now and moving, um and all that stuff. So it's hard for us to talk about the future when the short term is not even
It's not. You're not
very
even sure of the
sure.
short term. Yeah.
Hmm. I mean,
true.
long term is easier to talk about. Like, okay, yeah, of course, in the long term, we do want to end up married, and we do want to end up living in the same place and being a proper family. But getting there has become a gigantic question mark for us because how
Yeah.
do we know? Like, I don't even
Yeah.
know the process anymore if things are open. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's a little bit stressful, but he's the more calm one.
Yeah.
So every time there are doubts in my head, he would always be the one to say, we don't have to be in a hurry. Although sometimes I think we do have to be in a hurry because I am
Why?
33.
There's no timeline.
Yeah, but we're getting older. I don't want to move there when I'm 40.
Okay.
I mean, even if 30s is not, old in general, the process also takes a while. So for
Yeah.
me, the earlier we get to do that,
Mm-hmm.
then the faster we become a normal couple, finally.
So, so you think that normal couples are like us, that we live together? Is that your
Yeah.
definition of normal? No,
Of
because
course.
when you were telling me that sometimes we would just talk, but you don't really talk, like
Mm-hmm.
you would watch TV and he would do his thing. I think that's also how we are on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like we're together 24 hours, but we
Yeah.
don't talk all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are times that I would just be on my phone, he'd be on his phone, and we'd be okay with that.
Yes, but there is
Yes,
also
so it's
such a
just
thing as carnal pleasure.
okay. Do you want to talk about that?
I mean, of course, the last time I saw him was January because that's when
Yeah.
I came
Okay.
home.
Mm.
So imagine being in a couple, but never even like touching
Yes.
for 7
Okay.
months. That is not an easy relationship to have.
Okay, and that's why I'm not in an LDR, or I never even imagined myself to be in an LDR. I could
Wow.
not be physically away from my boyfriend or from,
You
yeah.
have too many carnal pleasures.
No. I'm just naturally clingy, so I need to be.
See, me also. So I don't know why I went into an LDR. But I don't have many options in the Philippines. So
Yeah. So speaking of those challenges, what other challenges do you face in your LDR?
um a lot. I mean, I feel like all the challenges of a non-LDR relationship exist.
Okay, sige. Tell me
Um
tell me more about it, and then I'll tell you if it
Fine.
does or doesn't exist in a normal relationship.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, okay.
Okay.
Okay, first of all, the time difference is not an issue
Okay.
for you
Okay.
guys,
Yeah.
obviously. But I'm lucky because we're 12 hours apart. So
Mm.
it's not too difficult to match the time because the previous relationship I had was, I think, 15 or 13 hours behind me, and
Okay.
the matching was kind of awkward because
Mm. Mm.
it's afternoon there and it's late night here, so it
Yeah.
was difficult to match the kind of activities we can do together, but the 12 hours is pretty okay. So
Mm.
when I'm done with my work, he's just about to go into work. So it's a complementary thing for if it's 12 hours.
Yeah.
um Maybe trust is another challenge. Not that I don't trust him anymore. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I've never really had trust issues with Tom.
Okay.
But in previous relationships, not necessarily as a boyfriend, but in the other with other dates that I've had, it's
Mm-hmm.
hard to trust someone when you don't know them, or we don't know see them all the time. It's like my
Okay.
mom asked with my previous boyfriend if he had a wife
Oh yeah.
in hiding back in Netherlands, and not that extreme, but you'd never really know. And I've
Mm.
had gone out on dates where the guy ended up having a girlfriend back home,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but he felt like because he's here at the time, he had a free pass. and the girlfriend will never know, and I will never know. But of course, I found out. I mean, the truth always reveals itself.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, so trust could be a challenge. With Tom, it's
Okay.
not trust about other women because I know that
Mm.
he will never do that. It's more like um, how how do you say this? In a way, how serious he is in terms of putting or pushing the relationship to the next towards the
Mm.
next step, because he will always say he wants this, he's
Yeah.
serious about it, and blah blah blah, but I don't really see him doing anything, so it's different when you say something and versus when you actually take the actual things you have to do to
Mm-hmm.
make it happen. And sometimes he says he is going to do certain things, but you don't know. I don't know if he really is. So
Yeah.
it's just hard to, strengthen trust if all you really have to work with are words.
Okay.
So it's a different experience when you see someone doing it, when
Mm.
there is like a tangible result in front of you. But if everything is just based on what your partner says, then your trust level has to be, I think, more than 100%, because that's the only thing you can base your trust on.
Okay. In regular relationships, trust is always an issue. Like, it's the
Mm-hmm.
same thing. Like, when you're not together, you can just really trust the person that they're not doing what they're not supposed to,
Mm-hmm.
or that they're not with other people, or not, that they're not married or with a girlfriend or stuff like that. So, or, yeah, or stuff like that.
But
So it's
how about I mean, because I know that your lifestyle is very very different from Gian's lifestyle, and maybe
mm,
after 4 years of being together, it's no longer an issue. But
yeah.
was there a time when that was an issue for you?
Of course, there was a time that that was an issue because I would like to know where he is every single minute of the day. Because that was how I was before, because I had trust issues with my past relationships. I know. Anyway, so that's how I was with him, and then I was able to adjust because he was able to fully show that he could be trusted. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not really that different for a normal relationship and a relationship with LDR, because like me, you don't really get to see the person 24
Yeah,
hours, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
How
so
did
it's
he how did he feel when you wanted to know where he was all the time?
of course he didn't like it. Who would like that? I don't even wanna do that. But
Did you talk about it? Like, did he say,
we
I don't want you
did.
to?
Of course, we did. He just told me that I needed to trust him more, and that um, I don't really need to check up on him the whole day, like all the time. So I think that's how you build trust also with the person. And at the end of the day, just make sure that he's okay.
Yeah.
So after that, I told him, okay, at least tell me which area of the country you are in. Or like if you're going to Pampanga, at least tell me I'm in Pampanga, not like you're there already and something would happen. Because he's riding a motorbike. So I couldn't really know if he's gonna get in an accident or
Yeah.
not. So that's how we resolved it.
And I
Yeah.
think it's also a matter of maturity of the partner, because
Yeah.
Tom is 4 years older and he has gone
Mm,
through a lot in his life,
yeah.
like a lot. So uh, I guess it was lucky for me that we met at the time in his life where he's
Mm,
done playing with games and he's done, fooling
yeah.
around, and he already has a son, and he was very
Mm,
determined to be a good person.
yep.
And that was the time that I met him.
Mm,
So like he never verbalized any trust issues against me. But to me, I did have some of it before, not because of who he is as a person, but it's really just all the, all the uncertainty of having a long
Yeah.
distance relationship to begin with, not seeing him. I would also love him to report to me every single time he does something or he goes anywhere. But I really stopped myself from doing it because I did that in my previous relationships, and that's also one of the bigger reasons why it didn't work, because
Yeah.
I was such a
Yeah.
bitch. So it was a good timing. Like, he was in that stage of his life, and I was already learning from a lot of the things, the very bad things that I've done in previous relationships. So we met at a great opportunity.
Yeah.
But we do fight a lot, more because of me. And you've talked about this previously. I am Filipinos are way more emotional
Yeah.
than Americans or foreign.
Mm-mm.
So a lot of things that annoy me don't annoy him. Um, to him, it is what it is. Like, if he
Yeah.
says something, there's nothing to read beyond
Mm-mm.
it or beneath it. But I read into things a lot.
Yeah.
Um, so, and this is why I like being with Tom, because
Mm-hmm.
in the other relationships or dates that I've had, whenever we get into a fight, um, the guy either ignores me
Mm.
or just more like patronizes. Parang, okay, she's mad, so I'm just gonna,
Mm-hmm.
coddle her and whatever. But Tom actually points stuff out to me. So if I get mad over something very petty, he will say that that's not something to get mad over. He will call me out if there
Yeah.
are, if there are things that are very unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times those fights or our fights are that way.
Okay.
And again, it's all because of his maturity, not mine.
Buti na lang.
Yes. It's all because of his patience, not
Yeah,
mine.
yeah, yeah.
But we've had two really, really big fights.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one, there was already a discussion of maybe this isn't going to work out, and then he hung up the phone, and I'm like, oh my god, did we just break up? um, but then eventually, when he calmed down, he called me again. We talked about it. So most of the issues, or most of the things we fight about, really come from the fact that when I'm already pissed, I just say I don't want to talk to you, and then I
Mm.
hang up, and then
Yeah.
we cool down for a bit, and then when we talk again, it's like nothing happened, which
Mm-hmm.
led to that one huge fight that made me think that we broke up.
Yeah.
And again, that's the realization, with a long distance relationship, you can't not talk.
Talk about it.
Because
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
that's the only thing we have.
Mm,
It's
mm.
communication. It's um, no, really
Verbal. Yeah.
verbalizing, articulating everything, which
Mm-hmm.
I think is an advantage for non-LDR relationships, because
Yeah.
even if you don't verbalize something, there's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of things that you can read, your body
Yes.
language,
Yeah.
and all that. So there's a
Walking
lot
out.
walk out. Right? And then
Yeah.
when you walk out, he can run after you, and then it's okay. But with
Yes.
LDR, when you put the phone down, it's
I
like
know.
game over. Try again next day.
I remember a friend, their LDR didn't work because the guy was really too quiet. So the
Mm.
guy was abroad,
Mm.
and the girl lives here. Both of them are Filipinos, but the guy is a bit, the typical Filipino who doesn't want to talk about his feelings,
Mhm.
who
Mhm.
doesn't want to be that open. So it didn't work as much because when they would fight, he would just keep it to himself. So the
Mm.
issues kept piling up, and then at one point it just blew all together, and no, they broke up. So
How long were they together?
I think they're about 3 years, 3 years, 4
3
years.
years? Oh
Yes, three or more.
no.
And they were already on, they were about to get married already.
Oh no!
Yes.
Out of those 3 years, how long were they long distance?
From the start.
From the start? Oh
Yes, from the start.
no!
But they knew each other when they were here
Okay.
when they were in the Philippines. So
Okay.
yeah. That's a sad story because,
Yeah. I mean, you endured 3 years of long distance relationship. That's not an easy thing to do.
I know. And they would travel back and forth. Like the guy
Yeah.
would go here, the girl would go
Mhm.
there. Yeah. So it's a bit sad. But
Yeah.
yeah.
See, that's the advantage again of Tom being as assertive as I am.
Mm.
Because he, first of all, that one big fight happened very early on. I think,
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly, but because we do call each other, or he calls me out a lot, and I do call him out also. Um, all these things that slowly creep up into a
Mm.
relationship happen to us very early,
Yeah.
because I am very confrontational, and he does not shy away from confrontation either. Again,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of Filipinos I know
Yeah.
would avoid the confrontation, so that really doesn't help anything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, luckily with these things happened earlier, and we were able to really find a good rhythm and a good
Mm-hmm.
way to
Mm-hmm.
communicate. We're not always that. I still do the tambo and the silent treatment at all, especially when I'm about to get my period and I become very, very irrational.
Yeah.
Um, but it still works because because we talk a lot, and I think we figured out the best
Mm.
way to communicate for both of
Mm-hmm.
us.
Yeah.
Um,
I think you handle fights better than we do. Honestly.
you know why? Because
Honestly.
Gian
Why?
is a Filipino.
No, it's not that. Maybe. Maybe
Why?
I'm
How do you handle fights then?
well before we would like he would already have his issues, but he won't tell me. And then at one point, like when there's really something bad that I did or
Mm.
something that he doesn't like, he suddenly brings up all of these other little
Oh
things
no. Okay.
that he never told me.
What?
So
That's
yeah,
something
that
I
was
do.
that was in the
Gian.
past. So
Mm.
now he's better. He would already tell me if there's something, or I would see it because we're physically together. So I would
Mm.
see his reaction. I would see his eye movements or what. So that was where what.
How do you fight? I mean, Gian will bring all these things up, but
Mm,
how are you when you get angry with him?
I don't get angry. That's the thing. I'm too
See,
nice.
this is what I said, that you are the ideal Filipina girlfriend.
No, I do get angry, but I would just keep quiet. I just walk
Mm.
away. And
Nah.
then yes, I would just walk away. I would like ratatatata everything, say everything, and then
Mm.
keep quiet. And then wait for
Okay.
him to digest everything.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then, does he say
And
sorry?
then he does. He does.
Mm.
When he knows that he's the one at fault, he would immediately say sorry. Or we would like take a break for like half a day, not talking or what. And then he would come back and then say sorry. So he's
Okay.
also a very mature person now, unlike 5 years ago.
Is he romantic?
Uh, define romantic. He is actually. He is.
Okay, define
Interesting.
romantic then.
He is. Is he romantic? Not really. Not really. Not so much. But he's very sweet. I
Mm.
was surprised. He's very sweet.
Like how
This
sweet.
like he would always hug me. He likes to
Mm.
cuddle, those
Mhm.
things. But romantic in a sense of like kasi ako love language ko would be words eh. Words of
Oh,
affirmation.
okay. Oh,
But
really?
yes,
Interesting.
and
Okay.
the thing is he's not he's the quiet type. So I think at one point I told him that you need to tell me if you love me or if you like what I'm wearing or you need to say something. So ever
Mm-hmm.
since like he would tell me he loves me every day right now.
Aw, that's
So
so cute.
I think that's maybe that's why I was so I felt like something was missing at the start of our relationship because he wasn't really expressing it as much. You know, we went to a lot of these pregnancy related trainings where one part of it is you would write a letter to your partner. Write a
Okay.
letter to your partner that your partner would read while she's in labor or after she gives birth.
Okay.
And
Ah.
then so everyone there in the room was writing, all the guys were writing for their wives. So I was watching him, and he just kept on writing. And then he eventually he gave it to me, and then it was just like what, 2, 3 sentences. And then he told me, you know, I'm proud of you, I love you, I have nothing else to write. I'm just pretending I'm writing something. But know that I love you and thank you, ganyan. So,
Oh. What's his love language?
service.
Oh, that's why.
Service. Yeah.
That's very evident naman. He loves you, Allah.
What's Tom's love language?
His is service also. Yes, also acts of service.
Oh.
So his disposition is always he doesn't care about himself for as long as the people he loves are good or having fun. Like when we're together, he never says what he wants to do. He always asks me what I want to do. And he would plan all these things. He hates planning. He doesn't know how to plan. So he did have a plan when I was there over Christmas, but it
Yeah.
wasn't very good. I mean, it wasn't well organized. He just knows where to go, but you know, you don't know when or whatever. But he did plan it. My love language is quality time. That's why I want. That's why I want the physicality of the relationship, because I want to spend time with these people.
Yeah.
But he's not romantic either. He tries, but
tries.
even that I have to give him instructions.
Like how?
Like one time I said, I need a little bit more romance in the relationship, and he had no idea what to do. And I said, okay, you Google it and look for romantic ideas to do in long distance relationships, and then you have to do it with me this weekend. So he did. And then
Thank
so
you, Google.
he ended up bringing me to the beach so we could watch the sunset together. Oh, it's so cheesy, but it was nice. But this is how unromantic he is. He was building it up. Like, okay, I have a plan. You'll love it. You have to wait. It just have to be the perfect time, blah, blah, blah. And then finally, he calls me and he was walking down the beach and he's like, look, it's sunset and I want us to watch the sunset together. I'm like, that's so sweet. But his battery was 10% and he forgot his power bank. So I did not get to see the sunset. I saw it almost at sunset, but right before the actual sunset, his phone died. So that didn't work out. But I guess it's the thought that counts.
Yes, it's a thought that counts.
And then this weekend, I'm like, we really need to do something together because I love talking to Tom and all that. But, you know, after 7 months of just talking, I want to do something else. So he's like, okay, what do you want to do? And I was trying to get him to think about these things, but he just cannot. So tonight, we're going to cook something together. And again, that was my instructions. So he's not romantic in a way that he just doesn't think of these things on his own. But when I ask for it, he will do it because again, acts of service. And if he can make someone happy, then he will. It's just annoying sometimes. And for my birthday, he wanted to give me a gift, but I knew he wouldn't have any idea. So I gave him a wish list of 10 items that he can buy. So I'm like, okay, these are my pre-approved gifts. So
at least you're sure that you would like it.
Exactly.
Right. That's how I am also with Gian. I already tell him what I want. Or I would be the one to buy it. And then he would just pay me. I would do COD.
Well, again, in long distance, that's not a luxury we have.
You can, diba? You can have gifts delivered.
Yeah, he can have stuff delivered, but I can't. It will be difficult if I buy it and I ask him to pay me because
Yeah.
first of all, he can't even figure out how to use his phone. So online wire transfer will
Transfer,
be
yeah.
difficult. So I just gave him a wish list of 10 things, and I'm just
Mm-hmm.
waiting for it to arrive in the mail.
It's cool that you're gonna cook together. Are there like other activities you guys do? Like while talking or
No.
like do
um,
you watch movies together? I saw that. I saw there's an app for that you
There
watch
is. Okay,
movies.
first of all, it's difficult to do these things with Tom because he is a grandpa when it comes to technology. So
Okay.
the mere fact that he figured out how to do video calls is already a milestone for him. Yesterday he sent me a screenshot and there are lots of notifications on top of the screen. And I said, "Why do you have all these notifications?" And he goes, "What do you mean? What are notifications?" I'm like, "The icons at the top of the screen." And he goes, "Oh, are those notifications? How do I get rid of them?" You never saw your notification. So he doesn't know what notifications are. So if I have to ask him to go through all these apps to make long distance relationships easier, he's just gonna freeze, I think. But I also think it's a good thing that, we've been in a long distance relationship for over a year already. And it's really just now that I'm trying to look for something else to make it a little bit more exciting. So I guess that's a good sign because it took
Yeah.
us over a year before I got tired of just
Yes.
talking. And it's really just me. Again, it's all me. Because he's perfectly fine with just
Yeah, he's okay with just
talking,
talking.
yeah, or just having me there or me
Mm-hmm.
watching his son. He's perfectly fine with it. But
Maybe
because,
because it's a pandemic.
yes,
Yes, and you're stuck
exactly.
at home and you're
That's
not doing
true.
anything else. So that's why you're trying to look for all of these other activities that you could do with him.
That's true. That's
Mm.
why we're having these episodes.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
we have nothing else to do anyway.
Or yeah, that's true. That's why we came up with
Mhm,
this one.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
So going back to LDR.
One thing that I always hate
Mm.
um, when people find out that I'm in a long distance relationship, they not necessarily ask, they will always wonder
What?
if it will last. Like, how long
Mm.
will a long distance
Mm.
relationship last? Or how
Mm.
long will I be willing to be in this kind of relationship? Um, and again, I hate having to explain myself. I mean, why do you
Yeah.
care if I'm in a long distance relationship or not? But it's also, I mean, I guess for me, again, I'm just lucky that Tom is the way he is.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Always assures me that, you know, despite the pandemic, he's not going anywhere, that he will be
Mm.
waiting. And we always talk about what our future would look like and how we're going to get there.
Yeah.
Um, but there's just a lot of things that can happen because
Mm.
I had sort of similar conversations with my first long distance relationship, and it ended up, just fizzling out. Um, so with this one, I have 100% confidence in it, but
Mm-hmm.
still, the uncertainty of everything compounded by the pandemic is really just making things a lot more difficult, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you found out that I'm in a long distance relationship, what did
Yeah.
you think about it?
Nothing negative really. Yeah. Unlike in the past, I would really like be dubious,
Mm,
or I would like question if long distance relationships would work. But
mhm.
maybe because I've seen a lot of LDRs work, that's why I'm not as concerned with yours.
Good.
Yeah. No, because I was really thinking about it yesterday. How different are LDRs from what you call normal
Mm,
relationships? And I just really think it's just the physical distance.
mm, mm,
Come to think of it, the challenges are the same. Um, the way you talk to each other are the same. It's really more of the person you're with.
Yeah.
And it's not really like, let's look at it as a channel. A channel. It's like a physical channel, normal relationships. Online channel would be LDR. So it's it doesn't really matter what channel you're in. It's really more of the person, how you get to know them,
Yeah.
how compatible you guys are together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess this is also the signs of how much the world has changed. I think
Yes.
that a lot of the hesitations and criticism against long distance relationships in the previously is because there's really no way to make it work easily.
Yes, that's true.
Snail mail would take you like a month.
Years. I don't remember the last time I received a snail. Oh, except for my credit card.
Right? Right?
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
or emails, and I mean, email is already a little bit advanced, but like
Yeah.
snail mails and all that. So, the challenges of long distance relationships in the past are real because it takes a different level of patience
Yep.
to make things work. And I guess for some people who aren't as trustworthy as they would, as they could be, it's so much easier for them to get away with so many things. So it's not so imperative for them to remain loyal. But now with technology and all these digital things, all these social media things, although sometimes I don't really like what social media has done to the world, but it has made a lot of things easier. Ironically, because social media has always been accused of making a lot of people antisocial because you're so
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
engrossed into the social media platforms. But for people like me in long distance relationships, social media has made us become more connected with people who don't live in the same country.
Yep.
And it's so easy now because all the interactions are also real time. So it's not as strange as it was.
Yeah.
I just remember one thing that my previous boyfriend, my ex, said. The only thing that he doesn't like with video calls in terms of being in a relationship is you can never look at people in the eye.
In the eye.
Yeah, because I would have to look at the camera to make it look like I'm looking at you, but for him to see my eyes, he will have to look down. So you never see eye to eye, which also bothers me sometimes because I do like eye contact when I talk to people. But whatever, you can't have everything. But in the end, I think being in a long distance relationship, I don't think obviously, it's not for
It's
everyone.
not for everyone. Yeah.
But I could also say that a normal relationship is not for everyone.
That's true. That's true. Like what I said, it's just a channel. Yeah. So what are you doing to make your long distance relationship work? You think it's gonna work in the long? I hope it works in the long run.
I hope it works in the long run too. I'm not wasting all this time for nothing.
I know.
Right now, we had plans for this year to move it to the next steps, but the pandemic just ruined a lot of things.
Yeah.
But the only thing that we really do well is the communication. He has taught me a lot about not keeping it in, which Filipinos are very fond of doing. And as much as I'm very confrontational and assertive, there are still a lot of things that I would rather not say. And I'm learning not to do that anymore and verbalizing it in a way that won't offend him either. Because
Yeah.
that's also a different thing, you can verbalize a lot of things, but if you end up offending the person, then that's another barrier to communication. So it's the way I mean, communication with someone is always different, from person to person. That's why communication specialists like us exist. But I think for long distance relationships, it's really important to figure out the kind of communication that would work for both of you, not just you, not just your partner,
Yep.
but a way that both of you will perfectly accept and understand. Because peacetime is always good. There's really
Yeah.
nothing to deal with when it's peacetime, but it will become very, very crucial. And sometimes, will spell the end or beginning of your relationship when you fight. And the way you communicate about that fight will be the test of a true long distance relationship. But in any case, like, there's no really right or wrong way to be in any kind of relationship. I do know of other people who are in long distance relationships. They ask me a lot of questions about how Tom and I do it, because I think when it comes to LDRs, Tom and I are doing great. Like, we are just killing LDR.
Yeah.
And some of my friends see that, and they do ask me a lot of questions about how we do it. And I always say, what we do will not work for
For everyone.
other couples. And I always say that there will always be a challenge, or there will always be sets of challenges, and there will always be compromise. Whatever it is that you're doing, it's just a matter of which challenges you're willing to deal with, and that you're willing to work through to make the long distance relationship work.
The Chismis Table.